Hello, Chain Gang, and welcome back to the Four Chains Travel.
So today we have a very special episode, which is our dental experience, or more specifically, Angie's.
Our?
Well, I was part of it, but
you were watching.
I didn't get any work done. Now, let me say that. But in Cancun, Mexico, we know from this trip, a lot of people are doing this. We spoke to a lot of people who were having it done or had it done. And it's a big deal. And we learned a lot of lessons. And our goal for this is that your experience, whether you decide to have work done there or you don't decide to have work done there, you'll be more secure that you're making the right decision with this information. We tell you the good, we'll tell you the bad, we'll tell you everything. First, let's set the stage here. What is the actual dental work that you required? Because there were a lot of visits involved.
Yes, I had an old crown that had a crack in it, and it was allowing bacteria to get into the area and cause a raging infection. That was super dangerous because when you have an infection back there like that, it can go into your brain. So I needed to have that tooth extracted pretty much immediately, and then I needed to have an implant done.
Okay, so that involves a bunch of different things, and we'll get into that. We wound up choosing Cancun Dental Specialists. There's a lot of different dentists, and all of them have very similar names, so you have to do your research like we did. But this one was Cancun Dental Specialists, but not everything that you had done we did have in Mexico. Some of it was done here locally. Tell us what that is and why you decided to do that part here.
Sure. I had the extraction done here because, as I said, the tooth was getting repeatedly infected, and I needed to have it done right away. So I had that done here. I ended up paying $200 out of pocket for that. I think my insurance picked up the remainder. We did have quotes from a couple different dentists here for the work that I needed done, and it was kind of consistent across the two. I knew after I had the tooth extracted that I was then having the implant done. That part I wasn't sure where I was going to have it done, but I had the extraction done here. And when I had the extraction done, I also had to have a bone graft done because the infection had eaten away so much of the bone that I needed to have a bone graft done so that there was something for the implant to screw into. So I had the extraction and the bone graft done here in the States.
And that's an important aspect of it that is going to come back. Now, you should know that the two, I think it was actually $250 that we had to pay out of pocket. That's because insurance considered, because of the infection, it medically necessary. Mm-hmm. Nothing else got covered. And if we would have done the whole procedure here, we would have had to pay an additional $8,854. So that's obviously a big motivation to look into Cancun, mm-hmm. but Angie, you're really risk averse and you don't want to make a mistake like this. And to a lot of people, particularly risk averse people, the thought of going to a foreign country mm-hmm. to get any sort of medical work done is really scary. And I know it was scary for you as well. Mm-hmm. What gave you the confidence to make the decision to go there? Because I know it wasn't just money.
Money was a factor.
Sure.
$8,000 is a chunk of change. So that's what got the ball rolling for me to even consider it or look into it. But what I ended up doing was just doing my due diligence. You'll have to edit that.
No problem.
I did my due diligence in terms of research. I looked at about 5 different dental clinics in Cancun and then narrowed it down to 2 that I was talking to back and forth, asking questions about the procedures and the costs, and just kind of trying to gauge my comfort level with the clinics themselves. And then when I was about to pull the trigger and decide on one of the 2 to go to, it dawned on me that I think I would feel more comfortable because reviews like Yelp and Google reviews and TripAdvisor, all of these things can be manipulated. So I wanted to see if I could reach out to people, real people who live in Cancun and had actually been to some of these places and had the same procedure done that I needed to have done. And so I did. I joined an expat group on Facebook and I talked to multiple people personally that I messaged back and forth with about their experience having an implant done at a specific place. And it's like 3 or 4 people were recommending the same clinic, Cancun Dental Specialists, who had this type of work done. So I ended up reaching out to that office and asking all of my questions of them. And they really instilled a lot of confidence in me in terms of the training of the dentist. They were offering to provide all the transportation I needed while I had the work done, the transfer from the airport to the appointments, and then to the hotel and back. Every transfer we needed to and from the hotel and to and from the appointments were all provided and included in the cost from Cancun Dental Specialists.
So we're going to get to the schedule next, but I think it's important to mention that one of the things I would assume most people would do, and we did, because we looked heavily into 5 different options, and those options we started with TripAdvisor and like Google reviews and stuff, but you really felt it was important to go beyond those reviews. You put much more credence in the personal statements on Facebook.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Just because those people had done the same thing I'm doing, and they had a specific office to recommend. And the fact that there were multiple people recommending the same place for the same procedures, and then when I looked into them, I just kept finding more and more people that had work done there and had good experiences and were happy with the work.
And the issue with Google and TripAdvisor is you can plant good reviews, you can get bad reviews cut in a lot of cases, so it wasn't quite as reliable. So the estimate what we wound up getting from Cancun Dental Specialists, and obviously everybody's going to be different because everybody's situation is different. It was $1,500. It was going to save us $7,000, sorry. And so we realized that we could book 2 5-star hotels, and we have the reviews of those hotels on our website for you to see. We realized that all-inclusive paid vacation for 8 days while we're doing this, plus the fee of doing it, would still be significantly less than it would have cost us if we would have been here. So there is value in those vacations, especially for YouTubers like us who do a lot of hotel reviews. Now,
and we'll link those hotels where we stayed for the time that I had this work done in the description.
Yes. Now, keep in mind, estimates are only estimates, and we'll tell you about that. But first, let's go back. We fly into Cancun. Like you say, part of the offer is they pick you up from the airport. They take you directly to the office. And then what happens? Walk us through the rest of the experience in Cancun.
So they picked us up from the airport. We used WhatsApp to communicate with them. And one of the other things I liked about this office is the chat feature they had on their website. They answered a bunch of random questions. Every time I freaked out, I would go online and chat them, and they'd answer the question, and that made me feel really comfortable. So I just logged onto the website, and I want everybody to see the feature I was talking about. This chat just popped up. Hello, I'm online. If you have any questions or interested in a quote or information, I'll be glad to help you. So I'm just going to type in here. Hi there. It's Hector. I've spoken with him before. And actually,
let them know we have our hotel. We're going to book the plane ticket in 2 weeks. If you follow our videos, there is a golden window as to when to book hotels and when to book plane tickets, and they are different. So we booked our hotels first.
He is going to look at my record here to find out, I guess he's going to probably ask about my flight and hotel. That's basically this chat feature, and it just is really nice. I asked him some pretty detailed questions about the procedure itself, and he was able to give accurate information right on the fly, and I really appreciated that, and it made me feel comfortable. And Hector said, I will let Gabriel, your patient care department dental coordinator, know about your new dates to travel so he can coordinate everything with you. And I responded, thanks so much. I do have emails from Gabriel. I just wanted to show everyone watching how the chat feature works. So again, this was really helpful. But the first thing that happened was they picked us up from the airport and they took me to the appointment to the office for my consultation. They did a CT scan. They did a tremendous amount of just kind of background. They did things I've never seen before. I don't remember what this machine was called, but they took a mold of my entire mouth, just in case I have future things that I want to have done as well. They have those records. But they did the CT scan to see what was going on. I knew going in that I might need to have an additional bone graft done, and I might need to have a sinus lift done. I knew that I wouldn't know that till I got there. And so they did the CT scan. and they said it looked like I did need to have an additional bone graft and a sinus lift. I was really bummed to get that information because I had had the one bone graft done here in the United States 6 months before. I thought I was going to be good, but there just wasn't enough area for them to screw into. So
now that raised the price considerably over the estimate, but something winds up happening involving that actually did impress me. And I want to say to you, like, you're my wife, I'm worried about you. When you go overseas, you worry you're going to go in, and we'll show you some footage, that you're going to go into the office and it's going to look like this third world, dirt floor situation. It was the opposite. They had equipment that was far more advanced than the equipment we have here in the United States. And by the way, we live in the second highest average income of any congressional district. So you would expect if anybody's going to have nice places, it's us. This place in Cancun was nicer equipment-wise.
it was nice, and I didn't hate overlooking the lagoon while the work was being done.
Oh, yeah. We'll try to get a picture of that. I mean, it's just a luxurious view from the dentist.
The customer service was really good. It was nice that I didn't have to rely too heavily on Spanish to get, familiar with what they were saying and get my questions answered. All of the office staff and the dentist spoke English.
Yes. Now, as I said, we give honest reviews. So the one thing you should be prepared for, if you're in Mexico, you're not watching this video, but if you're from Canada or England or the United States, as most of the people were that we saw there, you have to understand, you have to have some patience, because the customer service, both before we got there and there, was good, but in Mexico, their sense of being on time is not the same standard. So be prepared when you're going to be picked up that they may be late. You're not going to miss your appointment and be considered late for your appointment. It's all counted. And then once you're there is a possibility you will be waiting a lot more. And they don't do the under promise over deliver. So they'll tell you 15 minutes when it might be longer. So do pack your patience, but they were all very nice.
But going on to the visit, so they picked me up. I had my consultation visit the first day. They determined I was going to need the additional bone graft and the sinus lift. And then they took us to the hotel. We checked in, got some rest. And the following day I had my second appointment, which was when they did the implant. Now, once they got in there, they determined that I didn't actually need the second bone graft. I did need to have the sinus lift, but not the additional bone graft. And so that I was happy about.
And here's a part I might have to delete. It was really kind of exciting. Well, so if you watch all of our travel videos, you know, and you're going to know a lot more because we have more videos on this coming out. We use credit cards to get a lot of free stuff. We did that in Vegas. We do that when we're in Italy or wherever we go. We try to get as many freebies because of credit card points. Well, we were getting the minimum spend on our Amex Platinum because we have a Europe trip coming up. So we paid for it with the Amex Platinum. When they realized they didn't have to do the second bone graft, they Venmo'd or something. How did they pay us the money?
They wired what was it, $600 difference?
$600 some dollars,
They wired the $600 refund into our bank account. But we still got the Amex
So it wasn't
points.
a refund, so we got the Amex points for that. So we were pretty excited.
That was good.
The extra stuff wound up being actually pretty good there.
That was good. So I had that appointment. Jim was in the room the entire time.
Yeah.
Everything, he was just hanging out in the back. He did take some footage, which I'm guessing he's going to
you're looking at that right now. You're not looking at us.
So there was, they did the CT scans. I stood outside the room for that, but he did stay in the room when I had the entire procedure done. They did a great job with the Novocaine, the numbing of the area. There was no pain. It was, a pretty invasive procedure, and it was all right. I was really nervous about the procedure itself, even though I have a pretty high pain tolerance, but it was fine.
Now, one thing she didn't get to experience that I did, if you're a big Phil Collins fan, you do want to go in there with your loved one because they played nonstop Phil Collins and they were really liking it, and so was I. I was only worried that the bridge in the air tonight, I didn't want him to go doo-doo-doo-doo-doo on her mouth because they had a lot in there. But yeah, so that was part of the experience.
Yes, and so they numbed me, they screwed the implant in, They did the sinus lift. Basically, they just lift your sinus cavity. And I don't know. You were watching. What were they doing?
Yeah, they lift up the sinus cavity. And by the way, I could see the whole thing on x-ray. So they didn't have to do a bone graft because when they lifted the sinus, that there was enough material to contain the screw to keep it secure. So that's why they didn't wind up doing the second bone graft.
So then they stitched me up and took me back to the hotel, sent me with an ice pack and instructions. Oh, this was another thing. On the way back to the hotel, I can't remember if it was I think it was the day after the consultation. On the way to the hotel, they stopped at the pharmacy on the way so I could get my antibiotic, my antibacterial mouthwash, and ibuprofen, which was all very reasonable out of pocket. And those were all on the ready for after the procedure to start taking right away.
They wait for you.
They just wait in the parking lot.
While you're in the pharmacy.
They code in, you walk in, you get it immediately. It was great.
Now, there are pharmacies that are not reliable, and we have a video where we talk about going to Cancun pharmacies that you should check out. Some are reliable, some aren't. If you're experienced in Mexico and you know the ones that are reliable, you don't necessarily have to get it there. I did notice the pharmacy across the street from Rio Palace Las Americas had slightly cheaper prices, and they had one prescription like the mouthwash something that the one they take you to did not have.
Well, actually, I've just forgot to get it or something. I just zoned out. So luckily, that wasn't their fault. That was on me, I think. But luckily, there was a pharmacy also right across the street, and they had the prescription mouthwash. Yeah. So anyway, they stitched me up at the end of that second visit. Sent me home with an ice pack. I already had the medications I needed to prevent infection. Everything in terms of the discharge and follow-up instructions was written in English.
They said there are things they don't want you doing.
Like sweating.
Sweating or drinking straw. And, we were saying Angie was really upset that she couldn't do any dancing at the parties afterwards because she'd be sweating. So I'm sure she did a great job being disciplined about that.
Yeah. Anyway, I healed up very nicely.
Yeah, luckily.
I did have one other visit. So I had 3 visits total. The first one was the consultation, the second was the procedure, and then the third one was the follow-up. If you're having this procedure done, you do need to wait about a week before you get on a flight because of the cabin pressure. Everything needs to heal up a little bit before you get back on a plane. So we were there for 8 days total. I had the 3 visits. The stitches healed great. Just everything was pretty much without a hitch.
Okay, so speaking of hitches, there's going to be a follow-up video to this,
right?
That we're going to be filming March 4th. Why don't you tell us why that is?
Well, you have to wait 6 months for everything to heal, the sinus and bone and all the implant being in there. Everything needs to kind of get acclimated before you can have the final part of the procedure. And that is where they do an abutment and put the crown so that, you have a tooth in that space and the crown just gets screwed into the implant. Did I explain that right?
I think so. It's going to be less invasive. It's going to be less restrictive. Yeah. And you say to yourself, well, wait a minute, that's really going to increase the cost. Well, no, it's not. This is about dental, but if you have Amex Platinum, you get $200 off a Hilton luxury hotel. And the Hilton Cancun certainly is that. It's 5-star. But if you book, we booked it when you book off Expedia, you get an additional 15%. So we're getting $350 of that stay off. That's $1,000. And then the next stay, we're staying at a Hyatt because we have the World of Hyatt card. We will put a link. Can we put a link for World of Hyatt?
Yeah, I think so.
And if you get this offer, you get 5 free nights. It's only $95 and you get 5 free nights. So our expenses when we return to get the follow-up will be pretty cheap. We'll bring you the videos of those hotels and we'll bring you the follow-up video and then you'll be able to see. I guess we could show you her mouth, but right now it's just a gap and you can't see the scar, but I mean the screw. So
I feel like there's some things that maybe we forgot. So please, if you have any questions at all, please put your questions in the comment because I do feel like I'm now a reliable source for having this procedure done. And I think I could answer a lot of questions for people and also kind of put your mind at ease, because I certainly, as Jim said, I was really nervous about doing this, and I went back and forth, but it just, the cost, it's just like if there was any way that I could feel comfortable about it and wrap my head around paying much, much, much less for the procedure and be able to recover overlooking the Caribbean Sea, like not the end of the world, right?
Yes.
So please put the comments below. Please like the video. Check out our other videos of where we stayed while we had the procedures done if you'd like. And
we'll see you next time on the Four Chains.
thanks.